Well, as cost of living pressures soar sky high for many Aussies, a group of fed-up Queenslanders are calling for change.
High-rise residents on the Gold Coast are being hit with council rate rises subject to what floor they live on. Basically, the higher you are, the higher your rates. It's caused outrage among locals who say so-called view tax is unfair. For more, we're joined by high-rise resident Chris Griffith and Laura Boss from Queensland Strata Community Association. Thanks for joining us, Chris. So you live on the 28th floor of a Gold Coast high-rise. What is the council decision to impose this view tax feel for you? Is it unfair?
Oh, it's grossly unfair. I've got personally a 29% increase in my rates. I've just received the bill a few weeks ago. And it's grossly unfair because the council paints a picture of people living in high-rise being millionaires in penthouses and they've got plenty of money to spend. Whereas, in fact, if you went around this area on the Gold Coast, you've got a lot of seniors living in my apartment block here, a lot of renters who will get this passed on to them. They're mainly migrants and students going to TAFE or the various universities here. And so you actually targeting seniors with up to a 50% rate increase, whereas the general rate increase across the rest of the population is around 4%. The other thing why it's grossly unfair is that, okay, you might have a fantastic view on level 28, but in some buildings, if you walk across the corridor to the other side, you're looking into another apartment block, and those people don't have a view at all. They're looking at bedrooms, bathrooms, lounge rooms with no view. Their unit is worth less, and they're still being levied that big amount of money. It's not even accurate in terms of what it tries to achieve.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying this is un-Australian. Chris, what have your rates gone up to? How much have they gone up by?
So I've got the first instalment of this, like a 6-monthly instalment. It's just under $300, but that'll be $600 over a year, and that brings my rates to about $4,000, almost under $4,000 when you add in the water rates, which is about double what I used to pay when I lived in Sydney, in the inner west of Sydney. So they're really steep.
Yeah, so about $600 more a year.
On top, and as you said, there's a lot of seniors in that building particularly, and it's a place to go to retire for a lot of people from down south. Laura, take us through that point particularly about the view itself, right? You know better than anyone that any particular building on the Gold Coast may have a great view of the ocean, may have a great view of the hinterland, may not have a great view at all, but if they're on that floor, they get the same amount. Do you agree with it?
No, we've been quite shocked actually by the Gold Coast City Council's move on this one, and for a whole host of reasons. I mean, firstly, the communication of it and the consultation with residents has been abysmal. Without warning, without any preparation, they were just dumped with this. But also the other issue for us is around the parity. Now you've got a 2-speed rating system where, a home that could be, say, on Hedges Avenue is rated at land value when, property value, it could be worth $30 million, yet the people living next door are rated on property value. And the two can be very, very different things. And one of the advantages of vertical living is that it's reduced land, reduced infrastructure, and reduced amenity use on councils. So we see it as being a grossly unfair way of taxing people, really, who have made a choice to live in an apartment. One of the advantages of apartment living has always been that it has been more affordable, quite simply because it is a sustainable way of living and you are sharing amenities. But at the moment, we're seeing in Strata increased insurance costs. We're seeing increased maintenance costs on buildings. And you've got to remember that in Queensland, well, those things are all compulsory. We don't have a choice as to whether we pay our insurance or not, unlike our colleagues who may have their home on freehold. In Strata, there are increased costs everywhere. So, and as Chris points out, a lot of these costs will be passed on to people who are renting and who have chosen to live in an apartment because it is more affordable.
Yeah, that seems to be the feeling this morning. It is certainly not popular. You should see our poll, 90-something% against. We are going to talk more on this. Laura, Chris, thanks for your time.